Well, good evening. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Remembrance Day Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Nikolai Wreath. We're honoured to welcome His Excellency General the Honourable David Hurley, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Her Excellency Mrs Linda Hurley. Mr Kerry Stokes, Chairman of the Council of the Australian War Memorial, and Mrs Christine Simpson-Stokes. And Mr Matt Anderson, Director of the Australian War Memorial. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with gold and soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this National Museum and Memorial came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. The Roll of Honour lists more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. Normally, at this ceremony, we tell the story behind just one of those names on the Roll of Honour, but each year, on Remembrance Day, we commemorate all service and sacrifice by reading the eulogy for the unknown Australian soldier. The eulogy was first delivered on this day in 1993 by then Prime Minister, the Honourable Paul Keating, on the occasion of the interment of the unknown Australian soldier into the Australian War Memorial's Hall of Memory. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection in the following order. His Excellency General, the Honourable David Hurley, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Her Excellency Mrs Linda Hurley. Mr Kerry Stokes, Chairman of the Council of the Australian War Memorial, and Miss Christine Simpson-Stokes. Mr Matt Anderson, Director of the Australian War Memorial. The final wreath this evening will be laid by guests attending this evening's ceremony.
We do not know this Australian's name, and we never will. We do not know his rank or his battalion. We do not know where he was born, nor precisely how and when he died. We do not know where in Australia he made his home, or when he left for the battlefields of Europe. We do not know his age or his circumstances, whether he was from the city or the bush, what occupation he left to become a soldier, what religion, if he had a religion, if he was married or single. We do not know who loved him or whom he loved. If he had children, we do not know who they are. His family is lost to us, as he was lost to them. We will never know who this Australian was, yet he has always been among those whom we have honoured. We do know that he was one of the 45,000 Australians who died on the Western Front, one of the 416,000 Australians who volunteered to serve for service in the First World War, one of the 324,000 Australians who served overseas in that war, and one of the 60,000 Australians who died on foreign soil. One of some 102,000 Australians who have died in wars during the 20th century. He is all of them, and he is one of us. This Australian, an Australian he knew, are like foreign countries. The tide of events since he died has been so dramatic, so vast and all-consuming. A world has been created beyond the reach of his imagination. He may be one of those who believed that the Great War would be an adventure too grand to miss. He may have felt that he would never live down the shame of not going, but the chances are he went for no other reason than he believed it was his duty he owed his country and his king. Because the Great War was a mad, brutal, awful struggle, distinguished more than often not by military or political incompetence, because the waste of human life was so terrible that some said victory was scarcely discernible from defeat, and because the war, which was supposed to end all wars, in fact sowed the seeds of a second, even more terrible war, we might think that this unknown soldier died in vain. But in honouring our war dead, as we always have, we declare that this is not true. For out of war came a lesson which transcended the horror and tragedy and the inexcusable folly. It was a lesson about ordinary people, and the lesson was that they were not ordinary. On all sides, there were the heroes of the war, not the generals and the politicians, but the soldiers and the sailors and the nurses, those that taught us to endure hardship, to show courage, to be bold as well as resilient, to believe in ourselves, to stick together. The unknown Australian soldier was one of those who, by his deeds, proved that real nobility and grandeur belongs not to empires and nations, but to the people on whom they, in the last resort, always depend. That is surely at the heart of the Anzac story, the Australian legend which emerged from the war. It is a legend not of sweeping military victories so much as triumphs against odds, of courage and ingenuity in adversity. It is a legend of free and independent spirits whose discipline derived less from military formalities and customs than from the bonds of mateship and the demands of necessity. It is a democratic tradition the tradition in which Australians have gone to war ever since. This unknown Australian is not interned here to glorify war over peace, or to assert a soldier's character above his civilians, or one man's race, or one nation, or one religion above another, or men above women, or the war in which he fought and died above any other war, or one generation above any that it has been or will come later. The unknown soldier honours the memory of all those men and women who laid down their lives for Australia. His tomb is a reminder of what we have lost in war and what we have gained. We have lost more than 102,000 lives, and with them all their love of this country and of all their hope and energy. We have gained a legend, a story of bravery and sacrifice, and with it a deeper faith in ourselves and democracy, and a deeper understanding of what it means to be an Australian. It is not much to hope, and therefore, that this unknown Australian soldier might continue to serve his country. He might enshrine a nation's love of peace and remind us that in the sacrifice of men and women whose names are recorded here, there is enough faith for all of us.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. The Australian War Memorial will reopen to the public next Wednesday, the 17th of November. We look forward to welcoming you back and encourage you to book your free tickets for visitor sessions on our website. On a personal note, today marks the final occasion of my duties as an MC for the last post ceremony. It has been my honour and privilege to help share the many stories of service and sacrifice that have been told here at the Australian War Memorial each day since the last post ceremony commenced 8 years ago. Thank you for watching the Australian War Memorial's Remembrance Day Last Post ceremony, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.